of Doctor Who The Sixth Doctor Adventures Purity Unbound will contain spoilers for the last box set in the set, The Sixth Doctor Adventures Purity Unleashed, because Unbound takes place immediately after the events of Unleashed. Over the past year, the Sixth Doctor, along with Mel, played by Colin Baker and Bonnie Langford, have had a new companion on board the TARDIS, marine biologist Hebe Harrison, played by Ruth Madeley, who is not playing this character in the 60th anniversary specials, unfortunately. It's a shame, but, you know, expanded universe will expanded universe however it can. And Hebe Harrison is a wheelchair user, and she's gone to some aquatic planets, and she's had some many awesome adventures with the Sixth Doctor and Mel. However, in Purity Undreamed, we met Imogen Stubbs' character, Patricia McBride, who is a university professor, with some weird ideological bent to her where she wants to rid the world of all disabled people because they are imperfect, they are broken, and she gets a hold of, at the end of Purity Undreamed, a chrono suit, which is some time travel technology suit, and with it she becomes a supervillain called Purity, who manages to wipe out Hebe Harrison from the timeline. The events of Purity Unleashed were a Doctor and Mel trilogy of stories where they were trying to figure out what went wrong with the timeline, and trying to stop Purity. It seemed at the end of Purity Unleashed that they managed to stop Purity in her tracks, but she was able to lay the groundwork where her grandparents were able to bet on the correct horse at a race, get a vast fortune, and she was able to use that in order to build the future of her dreams and reign over it as Purity. And this is where we find the beginning of the box set of Purity Unbound, where they stumble across Hebe Harrison and her flatmate Ron, played by Toby Haydock, who are in a secluded apartment complex where she is a disabled person in her wheelchair still, but she has no recollection of the Doctor and Mel and their adventures together in time and space over the past few box sets. As a result, she is the titular girl in a bubble, written by this story arc's producer and script editor Jacqueline Rayner, who has essentially been spearheading this new run of Sixth Doctor adventures. So Hebe has no recollection of the Sixth Doctor and Mel, and she lives, basically she's not allowed to leave this apartment complex. Ron is her bodyguard. In the normal timeline, Ron was the husband of Elise, who was like Hebe Harrison's best friend. Elise is apparently nowhere to be seen. It's Hebe and Ron in this apartment complex here. And Purity has taken over the world and has shaped it in her own image, where the undesirables are locked up in these apartment complexes, out of sight, out of mind from the population so as not to upset them. And it's become a futuristic techno-dystopia. The Doctor and Mel try and take stock by going to a nearby cafe, and they're able to get one of their 3 free meals a day of some weird artificial goop which gives them all the nutrients they want. So let's play a clip from Girl in a Bubble.
What was all that about? She didn't even give us a menu.
But this looks like a fairly standard handheld computer. I should be able to, yes. Oh, here we go. Body mass, fitness level, age.
What?
I may have to tell a few white lies. There. We don't need a menu because we're getting meals tailored to our individual nutritional needs.
Oh, how ridiculous.
I think it's rather a good idea. Apparently, everyone is entitled to 3 free nutritional meals a day as part of the Purity Charter.
Free as long as you are fully conformist, I imagine.
What does that mean?
I dread to think. Patricia never liked anything that strayed too far from what she considered the norm. I suspect that she shaped her world in a similar way.
Oh, this is awful.
You haven't even tasted it yet. Here you go.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Do we pay now or later?
Well, pay? You hit your head or something? Well, thank you for choosing the Tudor tea rooms for your designated nutritional fulfillment. Yell if there's anything you need.
Oh, there are many things I need, but actual food would be top of my list right now, not a plate of mush.
So, when talking about this box set generally, this is the fourth installment, essentially episodes 10, 11, and 12 of this 12-part epic saga with Hebe Harrison and Patricia, aka Purity. And I think that as the opening chapter of this box set, Girl in a Bubble is a wonderful story. It's a wonderful two-parter written by Jacqueline Rayner. And I think what really carries it is Ruth Madeley's performance as Hebe, because this is still fundamentally the same character, where in her apartment, in her flat, she has got a fish tank and she loves the marine life and she wants to go out there and explore. She wants to be part of the society and see the world and explore the oceans and or the uncharted territory like she could do with the Doctor and Mel, but she doesn't have any recollection of that, and because she hasn't actually gone out and ventured before, she's playing fundamentally a different character, and Ruth Madeley is able to walk that tightrope and make it incredibly credible. She's able to take the assertive and brash Hebe Harrison that we've got to know over the past few box sets and really sort of strip those layers away to find someone who is deeply insecure about themselves because of the world that Purity has created, where she feels like someone who is broken, who is wrong, who should not be outside. And Ron is the caretaker in a really bittersweet sort of way compared with how we knew Hebe and Ron and Elise in the opening chapters of the Purity saga. And Ruth Madeley's performance is absolutely stellar there. There's a wonderful bit of opening narration, which probably ranks as maybe the best 2 or 3 minutes of Big Finish audio that I've heard all year so far, where you've got Ron narrating this fairy tale story of this person who wanted to create a perfect world out of clay, and then at the bottom of the barrel, when she just wanted to make a few more things, there was some broken clay, there was some dried clay, faulty clay, and she decided to make the person anyway, but this person was broken and needed to be put in a bubble for their own protection and for everyone else's well-being and state of mind. And you've got this young toddler Hebe who is similarly, quote, broken, hearing this story and realizing it's about her. It's a wonderful start to the story, wonderful start to the box set, with also a really lovely callback to Evelyn Smythe, who we know that there is a relationship, a prior one between Hebe and Evelyn. That was sort of the instigator of the Sixth Doctor and Hebe and Mel's relationship with each other there. It was a really lovely callback in Waterworld, and it comes full circle here in the first installment of Purity Unbound. And also, even though we don't really this is only a 2-part story, we don't spend too much time in this alternative future that Purity has created, but we still get a great sense of the characters who inhabit it, the businesses and the world and the ecosystem and how it works. There's some really great world building here, which I wish was extended to other installments in this box set, other episodes, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's get to The Corruptions by Mark Wright, where this picks up at the cliffhanger ending of Girl in a Bubble, which I won't properly spoil, but suffice it to say, the Doctor, Hebe and Mel are scattered by Purity into alternate timelines, into alternate realities. And in this one, this takes place in the secluded neighbourhood, the secluded village of Peace Pottage in the late 1980s, where Mel has some weird, ambiguous job. No one knows what she does. She does a computer science stuff in London. Or does she work from home and she does something with computers? Like, we don't really know. She does something. And Hebe Harrison runs the local tea room in Peace Pottage. Let's play a clip from The Corruptions.
Hello! Is there any chance of getting served?
All right, keep your hair on. I'm coming.
About time.
And good morning to you too, Mrs. V. What's the trouble?
3 of your strongest, sweetest teas, please, Miss Harrison.
How many more times? It's Hebe, okay? You've been coming in here long enough. Hey, what's up? Mel, what's wrong?
Oh, hi, Hebe.
Don't give me hi, Hebe. You look rough as old boots.
Oh, thanks very much.
She's right.
Funny turn, right outside the police box.
You've been doing aerobics before breakfast again.
Well,
I swear to... That's it. Tea and toast coming right up.
can't I just have a carrot juice?
Ugh, carrot juice, carrot juice, carrot juice. No, you cannot have a carrot juice. Ugh, anyone else?
Yes, please.
Go on then.
I could go for another tea. Wish I hadn't asked. Tea and toast all round.
The carrot juice gag is a little bit laboured, but I respect it. I respect the commitment. So the corruptions is... It's difficult to get into it without getting into spoilers. We are in endgame territory for a 12-part collection of stories. But the corruptions essentially takes the form of this weird pseudo-horror alternate reality story, where the Sixth Doctor is trying to get into Peace Pottage, is trying to overcome the defences that Purity has put in place to make sure that he can't help them, he can't get to Mel and to Hebe. And I think it's an interesting premise for a single act, or a couple of scenes. It doesn't carry a full 2-part 1-hour story. It just doesn't. This feels like the box set is sort of spinning its wheels trying to get to the conclusion. It doesn't feel like there's a lot really substantial here, other than the really interesting wrinkle that is Purity's undoing when it comes to messing with Mel and the corruptions of the title. That's a really interesting plot twist. That's a really interesting way to use the established canon-breaking, universe-shattering inclusion of making Mel somehow fit in the Doctor's timeline and weaponizing that against Purity. Genuinely clever, really good, but the whole, like, secluded village in the late 1980s, and Mel and Hebe don't have their memories, and they don't know what this life, or they get deja vu, stuff like that. We've really seen this all before, not only just on TV screens with Human Nature, but there was even a Fifth Doctor box set earlier this year, where the Fifth Doctor and Nyssa and Tegan, they were in their own secluded village story with their memories altered and some weird alien threat around them, in The Edge of War by Jonathan Barnes, except this is an English village in the late 1980s, and this was in France in the mid-1930s. So different settings, but fundamentally the same thing. It just kind of feels a bit been there and done that, and the setting of Peace Pottage and its characters and the story it's trying to tell, it just didn't feel like it was actually advancing or progressing the material. And then we get to The Wrong Side of History by Robert Valentine, the finale of this whole saga. And this is definitely the finale. I will say that now. We got to the end of Purity Unleashed and we were surprised that there was another box set to go, but this is definitively the ending. The Wrong Side of History by Robert Valentine. I'm not going to play a clip, because there's no way I can play a clip from this 2-parter without basically spoiling everything from the previous 2 stories, and I like to try and keep these reviews as spoiler-free as I possibly can. The problem with The Wrong Side of History is that it decides, halfway in this 2-part story, that Purity is not an interesting villain anymore, and casts her to one side and brings in a new villain for the last 30 minutes, who is not interesting, who is boring, who is trite, who is rote, and even the Sixth Doctor says, I can't take you seriously. And the fact that Hebe and Patricia don't get a single substantial interaction over the course of this entire box set, let alone the finale, means that all of the wonderful thematic build-up, everything that this box set, this whole 4-part box set story has had on its mind from Waterworld up until Purity Unbound, fizzles. Completely fizzles. This was such a disappointing ending. The dialogue itself and the performances, really strong stuff. Robert Valentine knows what he's doing, of course. But really, there's very little actually here. People in the chat have been saying Purity sounds like Putin. The comparison that I've been making for Patricia, aka Purity, over the past year with these reviews has been Jordan Peterson, this pseudo-intellectual with a eugenics streak, who is, educated and is academically smart, debatably, but is able to use that as a pretense, as justification for deeply reactionary and dangerous ideals for the world that they want to create. That's the comparison point that I've been making with Patricia. That still holds up in Purity Unbound, but we get halfway through The Wrong Side of History, and they decide it's not interesting. It's 4 box sets of build-up, 4 box sets leading to this ending. No, let's just get rid of her for the last half hour. Completely falters. So disappointing. Genuinely disappointing. And the fact that as well, like I said, it doesn't tackle the themes. It doesn't tackle Hebe actually proving that she is not broken the way that Patricia thinks that she is, and that many people in the world think that she is. Honestly, with the exception of the story Girl in a Bubble, you could remove Hebe from this whole box set, and the corruptions on the wrong side of history, fundamentally as like plots, would not change. And that's so strange to me. The fact that you would set up this character over the first 2 box sets and then re-establish her in Girl in a Bubble, and then have her be completely redundant in the corruptions on the wrong side of history. I don't get it. I don't know how this happened. Genuinely, like, how do you get to the end of these 4 box sets, these 12 stories, these 24 episodes, and then just think at the end, all of this stuff that we've had on our mind, let's not build on that. Let's just ignore it. I found that so frustrating because the fundamentals are strong, the performances are great, but even like the 6th Doctor and Patricia's final encounter with each other, their final confrontation, the ethos, what this has been building towards for 24 episodes, it doesn't amount to anything. It doesn't build upon what was set up in Chronomancer in Purity Undreamed. It doesn't set up all of the socio-political subtext that happened in Purity Unleashed. It just thinks, let's bring in a new villain for the last half hour, who we are actively going to lampshade as not a good villain. And that's the end of our story. And then you get to the behind-the-scenes documentary at the end, and half of it is Toby Haydock talking about how good it was to play the role of Ron. And Ron's a great character, and Toby Haydock is really good in the role. He's like an MVP in this box set. But why is that like the focus of the ending mission statement to 4 box sets of build-up? How? I don't get it. I want to get it. I was on this box set side. Like, Waterworlds was in my top 10 for last year. Purity Unleashed is currently in my top 10 for Big Finish releases from this year. I have loved the 6th Doctor and Hebe's adventures. And, you know, with the ending of Purity Undreamed, the stories in Purity Unleashed, top tier Big Finish. This was all geared up for a spectacular ending in Purity Unbound. And it seemed to actively throw it away. But it did it in a way that wasn't like, we're going to throw it away and be really, really bad. It was just, we're going to throw it away and just act like we haven't done that. Like, it was still fine. It was still a decent story with good production, great performances, etc. But my God, I need those creative decisions explained to me for why they did that in the wrong side of history. And I did something that I promised myself I normally wouldn't do for these reviews. I actually went on Timescales and read up other people's reviews of this box set. And it seems like, you know, people kind of feel the same. Hellbent and Big Finish, it's not that bad. No, it's not. It is not that bad. I don't even want to call it bad. It's just, you had it in your hands and you deliberately dropped it. It didn't slip. You just kind of abandoned everything you had going on and all the goodwill. Will Hebe come back in the Doctor Who universe for Big Finish and more adventures with the 6th Doctor and Mel? I can't tell you that because that's spoilers and stuff. I hope so. That would be really cool. But Purity Unbound, the conclusion of 1, 2, 3, 4 box sets. Oh, it needed to end better than this. It needed to end better than this. I'm so disappointed. And also in the wrong side of history, they decide to double down on the Evelyn Smythe connection, which honestly, it felt lovely in Girl in a Bubble. It especially felt lovely in Waterworlds. But here, the fact that they doubled and in this case tripled down on it, it felt really trying. It felt very try-hard. It felt very manipulative. It felt like it was trying to use the Big Finish audience goodwill for Evelyn Smythe as a 6th Doctor companion. And it decided, rather than actually tackle the intellectual, socio-political themes that it's been dabbling in very effectively for the past 3 box sets, decided, you know, let's just mind that Evelyn Smythe thing. It's not a Hell-Bent comparison, but it is a Darkwater Death in Heaven one with the Brigadier. It's not quite that egregious, but that is the comparison that I go to. It's like, yeah, let's put Evelyn Smythe in a cyber body and have the Doctor salute her. It's not literally that, but it was very disappointing. I'm afraid that this ending to this four box sets, that's a lengthy and expensive commitment. And to end it that way, oh dear.